There is a prophet in Israel. This week we study 2 Kings chapters 2 through 7, the story of the prophet Elisha. Elisha was the successor to the great prophet Elijah. When Elijah was taken up into heaven in a whirlwind, his mantle fell to the ground, and Elisha picked it up. That mantle was a symbol. It represented the prophetic calling and authority now resting upon Elisha. From that moment forward, Elisha ministered to the kingdom of Israel during a time of spiritual confusion and conflict when many people had turned away from the Lord toward idol worship. Unlike many other prophets, the scriptural record of Elisha contains very few of his actual sermons or teachings. Instead, what we have preserved are his miracles. We read of him purifying poisoned water, multiplying a poor widow's oil, raising a child from the dead, feeding a multitude with just a small amount of food, and healing a commander of an enemy army from leprosy. These miracles, though brief in their telling, testify powerfully of Jesus Christ. They show the Lord's power to heal, to nourish, and to restore life, even when circumstances seem impossible. Consider the account in 2 Kings chapter 4, verses 8 through 37. A woman from Shunem showed great hospitality to Elisha, even building a small room for him to stay in during his travels. In gratitude, Elisha promised she would have a son, despite her advanced age. When that son later died unexpectedly, the woman sought out Elisha in faith, and through the Lord's power, the child was restored to life. Her faith and Elisha's prophetic ministry combined to bring forth a miracle that points us toward the resurrection promised through Jesus Christ. In 2 Kings chapter 5, we read of Naaman, a Syrian military commander afflicted with leprosy. Through the testimony of a young servant girl, Naaman learned that the prophet in Israel could heal him. When he arrived, Elisha simply instructed him to wash 7 times in the Jordan River. Naaman was insulted at first, expecting something more impressive, but when he humbled himself and obeyed this simple instruction, he was healed completely. His experience teaches us that the Lord's invitations, though sometimes seeming too simple, bring healing and blessings when we respond with humility and obedience. Perhaps the most memorable account is found in 2 Kings chapter 6, verses 8 through 23. Elisha's servant awoke one morning to find their city surrounded by an enemy army with horses and chariots. Frightened, he cried out to Elisha. The prophet calmly responded that those with them were more than those who opposed them. Elisha then prayed that the young man's eyes would be opened, and the servant saw that the surrounding mountains were filled with the Lord's heavenly army of chariots and horses of fire. This experience reminds us that even when we feel outnumbered or alone in our trials, the Lord's unseen power and support surround us. We are never truly alone when we walk in faith. As we study these miracles together, we can ask ourselves where we have felt the Lord's power working in our own lives. Have we recognized small miracles, perhaps overlooked because they did not appear as dramatic as raising the dead or healing leprosy? The Lord still works through ordinary means today. He multiplies our limited resources, heals our spiritual and physical afflictions, and surrounds us with unseen support during difficult times. Like Elisha's servant, we are invited to open our spiritual eyes and see that the Lord and His servants stand ready to help us, even when the world appears overwhelming. This week, consider how you might exercise greater faith, as Elisha did when he prayed on behalf of his fearful servant. Consider also how the Lord may be inviting you to act in simple obedience, as Naaman did at the Jordan River. Through the testimonies of these ancient prophets and the miracles recorded in their ministries, we are reminded that Jesus Christ is the source of all healing, all nourishment, and all power over death itself.